And we are live. Getting things organized here on my end. Hoping this is coming through loud and clear on yours as we start our stream. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it happens to be in your neck of the woods. Lee Hayward here with the Total Fitness Bodybuilding video chat for Friday, January the 5th. This is our first video chat for 2024. And again, hopefully this is coming through loud and clear on your end and you can hear me and see me. All right, so I posted a notification up on Facebook earlier today that I'd be doing a live Q&A, and I know our regulars usually understand the way this works. Every Friday we do our weekly Q&A. Let's see. Okay, it is coming through loud and clear. I was just going to ask if it's coming through loud and clear, but we got JP saying it's coming through loud and clear. We got Lee saying it's loud and clear. Appreciate it, gentlemen. Jesse saying the audio is good. Appreciate it. Steve is saying it's all loud and clear. Good stuff. And Steve is saying that as well. We got a couple Steves. Good stuff. Good stuff. Awesome, guys. All right, so the way these video chats work, first off, for everyone who's a regular and knows the rigmarole, welcome back. Glad to have you joining in. And we'll be discussing some challenges and strategies for maximizing your fitness and nutrition moving into the new year. And for those of you who are new to the video chat, I want to welcome you. All right, the way this works is I'm going to be hanging out here for the next hour, answering questions and topics of discussion related to health and fitness and nutrition, and helping you to optimize your fat loss and muscle building goals and athletic performance goals, anything health, fitness, and wellness related. You can feel free to type questions and topics of discussion into our chat window there. And we are streaming from YouTube as well as on Facebook. So if you're on YouTube, there will be a live video chat window there to the side of the video. If you're on Facebook, it'll probably be the video and then the comments below. Either one is fine. Post your questions and comments into the chat window there or into the comment section, and I'll be able to read them over on my end. All right, a couple things that I wanted to address now before we get into answering your questions and topics. One, next week, we're going to be launching the Lose Your Gut Challenge group. This is something that I do every year, and we are doing it again. So we're going to be kicking off the new year on the right track. And I just want to share my screen here so you can see a little bit more about it. There we go. Lose Your Gut. There it is. So this right here, the Lose Your Gut Challenge, is a virtual coaching program. So it's a 5-day virtual coaching program where we're going to go and do a deep dive into the fundamentals of fitness and nutrition and how to build lasting habits so that you can not only lose fat, build muscle, and improve your overall health and fitness and athletic performance, but have a system in place so that you can sustain these results long term. That's what this is all about. And I want to clarify that because every time I say we're doing a 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge, people say, well, that sounds like a scam. What do you mean 5 days? Like nobody's losing their gut in 5 days. And I don't promise that. I always make that clear when we do our challenge. Nobody's losing their gut in 5 days. But over the course of 5 days, you're going to be going through a deep dive in terms of a coaching program that will show you what you need to do in order to lose your gut and to maximize your health and fitness and to sustain those results moving forward. And as you can see here on the screen, these are some of the guys who have gone through the Lose Your Gut Challenge in the past and have made amazing results. And I've featured several success stories on our page. So if you want to head over to leehayward.com, I've got all the details of the Lose Your Gut Challenge posted there up on my website. And there's a link there for where you can register for it. And the way this is going down is all the challenge content this time around is going to be happening through the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. So I know some of you are already members over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. So if you are, you'll be accessing the challenge content through there. If you're not, feel free to register for this and sign up, request to join the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group so that you can participate in the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And another thing I want to mention too is if you are not on Facebook, because that's one of the complaints that I get is every year when I run these challenges, some people saying like, I don't like social media. I don't like Facebook. I don't have an account and I have no intentions of signing up for one. I appreciate that, right? I mean, I kind of have a love-hate relationship when it comes to social media. I mean, I do use it because it's an amazing tool to connect with my coaching students. And I mean, we have our private group, like the Total Fitness Bodybuilding group. We have a private group for the Muscle After 40 Blueprint coaching students. So I use it as a tool to communicate, share content, and just keep that open flow of communication. But other than that, I mean, there's a lot of crap that gets posted on social media. I mean, obviously, so it can be a distraction. And I understand if people don't want to be a part of social media for that reason. So if you're not on Facebook and you have no intentions of joining, you're not out of luck, because this time around, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be emailing out the challenge content at the end of each day. So part of the thing that we have here now is you actually register for the Lose Your Gut Challenge by entering in your name and email address. And at the end of each day, I'm going to be sending a summary of the challenge content and all the video lessons and things that were covered through email outside of the Facebook platform. So if you've never have intentions of using Facebook and you've never been able to participate in a Lose Your Gut Challenge because of that, this time around, I'm covering all bases because I want to be able to reach out and help as many people as possible. And I know in past years when I've done these challenges, that was the number one complaint, right? Like if there was one complaint that I get, it was, oh, this is only on Facebook. I don't use Facebook, so I can't participate in the challenge. So this time around, we're overcoming that objection. So I'm going to be making all the content available afterwards. So at the end of each day, I'll be sending you the email with the video lessons, the summaries, all the material, because throughout the challenge, we'll be providing nutritional guidelines and templates and meal plans and all that kind of stuff that you can follow along with to help lay the foundation for losing your gut, and not only losing it, but keeping it off, right? That's the secret here. That's the key to this whole process. I mean, what's the point if you can suffer it out and starve yourself and lose, say, like 30 pounds in the next 3 months, if within 6 months later, you got it all gained back again? Like, I would rather you lose weight slow, and the weight you lose is the weight you keep off. The progress you make is the progress you keep, versus going on some crazy crash diet, but not being able to sustain it, right? Like, that's one of the principles that we'll be covering, is this idea of being good enough, but good enough consistently. Or another way of saying it is we want to be consistently good versus occasionally great. And when it comes to fitness and nutrition, I would much rather see somebody be, say, like a 7 out of 10 intensity, but sustain that as a lifestyle for the long term, versus being 10 out of 10 intensity and then burn out in the matter of a few months and then not be able to keep going anymore. And so this all or nothing trap that so many people fall into, right? Like some people, yeah, they put the blinders on and say, okay, I'm all in. And they go hardcore, pedal to the metal for the short term. But then they either get burnt out or something derails their progress where they can't continue that same intensity, that same pace, and they don't know how to dial it back and sustain it, right? Where I would much rather you have a more modest approach, but sustain it long term and reap the results, because consistency is more important than intensity. And I know this is a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. Like, a lot of people think, if I'm not suffering, if I'm not going hardcore, go big or go home, this, no pain, no gain, piss and vinegar type of approach. A lot of people think if they're not going hardcore, then what's the point? And I'm here to tell you, slow and steady, like that old analogy or that old fable, the tortoise and the hare. This slow and steady approach, the consistency approach, it really works, and it applies to fitness and nutrition. And we're going to be doing a deep dive into that within the Lose Your Gut Challenge program. And the guys that you see here, the ones who have actually sustained lasting transformations, they've followed this. And the thing is they haven't just lost the weight, but they've kept it off in many cases for years. Like, some of these guys have lost the weight and sustained it for years afterwards. And that's what I want for you. Not just some short-term quick fix solution, but a long-term lasting solution where the progress you make is the progress you keep. And then you can look back and say, like 5 years, 10 years, even more down the road and say, you know what? Hey, that Lose Your Gut Challenge thing that I did with Lee Hayward way back in 2024, that was the thing that really turned things around, right? That's what helped me to get on the right track. And that's the whole purpose of this, is to help create more of these before and after success stories. So if you haven't already registered yet, I know a lot of people, I see a lot of names here of people who have already registered for it and are already part of the program, which is great. But if you haven't, head on over to my website, leehayward.com, and you can get all the details of the challenge and register right there. And just to let you know, it's going to be kicking off this coming Saturday. All right. So not tomorrow, but no, the following Saturday. So January 13th is the official launch date for the Lose Your Gut Challenge. So there's still time to get on board with it. So register now if you haven't already done so. All right. So I'm just going to stop that. There we go. All right, I see a lot of questions and comments coming through, which is awesome. I'm going to be jumping into those very shortly, but I have another couple questions in there that came through that I want to address as well. All right. Another one that I want to discuss, and this is a challenge. This is kind of a separate challenge in addition to the Lose Your Gut Challenge, but it's another one that I put out there. I shared this on my Facebook group, and I shared it on the Dad Bod Transformation group, and it's actually featured there on the Dad Bod Transformation group as well. But it's the idea of the New Year's 30 by 30 challenge. And this is a simple challenge to kind of put you in the right mindset for creating sustainable fitness habits. And all it is for the next 30 days, throughout January, I want you to commit to doing at least 30 minutes of exercise each day. And this can be any type of exercise, right? It could be getting outside and going for a walk. It could be going to the gym. It could be anything. It could be yoga. It could be a fitness class, right? Anything that gets you off your ass and moving. It could be shoveling your driveway. We're currently going through a snow day here, all right? Where I live. I mean, everything was closed down today because of a snow day. So tomorrow, shoveling the driveway will count as a part of this exercise challenge for sure. But that's what it is. And I'm just going to share my screen here. I mean, I want to show you what it is. It's the whole New Year's 30-day workout challenge. So can you work out for 30 minutes for 30 days? And again, it could be any type of exercise, right? Weight training, cardio, body weight, stretching, yoga, walking, jogging, cycling, swimming, martial arts, fitness classes, whatever. But the idea is just to commit to keeping that habit of daily exercise alive. And this is something that I've been doing myself pretty darn consistently, I have to say. And over the past year, like I track my workouts, and last year I completed 308 days of exercise. So out of 365 days, 308 of them, I did a workout. Now, again, it's not always a gym workout. It could be cycling. It could be walking. It could be going to the gym and doing weight training. But every day I logged in a workout and for 308 days. So that's most days, right? And that probably works out to about a one day a week off on average, right? So, I mean, I'm pretty much trying to nail that daily workout, right? I strive for a daily workout, but of course life throws curveballs at you from time to time and whatever. I mean, sometimes you're extra tired, extra sore, you're traveling, you're busy, and you just can't get into the gym. But every day I try to do some form of exercise. And for me, that's usually doing a weight training workout one day and then a cardio workout the next. That's usually how I go about it, but it can vary. I mean, I'm flexible with that approach. Right? That's the general guideline, but I don't let this, I don't let the details hold me up. I mean, if for some reason I can't make it to the gym, then hey, I can do a body weight workout at home, right? That still counts. Or if for some reason, the weather's not suitable for doing a cardio workout, like maybe I wanted to get outside for a bike ride and the weather's not suitable. Well, hey, I can go for a walk, or I can go use cardio machines at the gym, or do some cardio on my indoor cardio equipment. Like I've got a rower and a stationary bike at home. So anything counts for this. But the bottom line is to commit to doing some form of daily exercise most days. And the goal is, think of like at the end of next year, like at the end of 2024, if you could log 300 days of exercise, like just think of how far ahead you would be with your health and fitness. Like that's what makes a massive difference. It's not what you can do hardcore for the short term. Like some people say, oh, I'm going to go on some 6-week program or 12-week program. No, you need to think bigger than that. You need to think long term. Like, what are you averaging most days? Like 300 days of the year. What are you doing? Are you exercising 300 days of the year? Or are you taking a rest day 300 days of the year and maybe squeezing in 65 workouts sporadically over the course of the rest of the year? Like that's how it works. Like it's a balancing act. It's a ratio. are you having more good days than bad, or are you having more bad days than good, right? Like where does the ratio tip? And I'm willing to bet that there's a lot more people who've probably logged 300 plus non-workout days than there are people who've logged 300 plus workout days in 2023. So we want to kind of change that ratio around. And this New Year's challenge right here, this is a good one to get the ball rolling, right? For the next 30 days, can you work out for a minimum of 30 minutes for 30 days? And I know some people are saying, well, it's January 5th. I should have started on January 1st. Like, who gives a shit, right? Start now, right? Start now, start today, or start tomorrow. Like, just can you cross off the next 30 days of building that habit of daily exercise? And I know some people are wondering, well, what about rest and recovery? Well, on those rest and recovery days, that's when you can do easy exercise. Like, it doesn't always have to be this hardcore training to failure, balls to the wall workout. It could be as simple as getting outside and going for a walk. That would be considered active recovery. So that would cover your rest days, if you will, like getting outside for a walk. It's still exercise. It's still benefiting you. You're still getting health and fitness benefits. You're burning fat. You're improving your cardiovascular system and getting the mental and the cognitive benefits of daily exercise. But it's not stressful. It's not breaking your muscles down or stressing your central nervous system. It's actually active recovery. It's rejuvenating exercise, because you go for a walk and you usually feel good afterwards. Whereas if you go to the gym and you crush it with a heavy workout, I mean, you're probably sore and exhausted afterwards. So we need to complement that. And then this is one of the things I refer to as like the yin and the yang of exercise. Like the high intensity weight training. I mean, yeah, you need that. Or the high intensity cardio. You do need that in moderation. But you also need to have a lot of the lower intensity, the more gentle forms of exercise, walking and stretching and even some yoga and things like that to kind of complement. So you're getting the high intensity and the gentle in there as well, right? And this is a great way to keep that daily habit of exercise alive. So this is something that's a personal challenge, but I encourage you to partake in that for the next 30 days. See if you can log off at least 30 minutes of exercise per day. And I'm going to tell you, you'll feel so much better if you do cross that one off your list. And keep me posted. Let me know how that goes. All right. So with that being said, let me just stop sharing that. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to jump into some Q&A, and we have a lot of them coming through here. Good stuff. All right. One question that came through, I want to address it quickly here before we jump into yours. This one was from Andrew. Andrew's a regular, and he always likes to send in these questions in advance because he's over in the UK, and usually it's rather late for him, so he doesn't make the live Q&A, but he always catches the replay afterwards. He says his father, who's 51 years old, he recently started exercising and he quit smoking, right? And he basically wanted me to acknowledge the benefits of this, because his father also follows my fitness content, not quite as much as Andrew. I think Andrew's probably a bit more hardcore than his father, but his father follows along with me, my stuff, and he's actually the one who introduced his son Andrew to my content. And Andrew's been a loyal follower for several years now, but he wants me to discuss the topic of, here he is, his father now at 51, just started exercising, and he also just recently quit smoking. And the reason he did this was he did have some breathing issues. There was something that happened there that kind of caused him to hit that panic button, if you will, that, hey, I need to make some changes here. And he also, several friends and people that they know personally have had health issues and, even died of heart issues, heart attacks. So this was the big wake up call. And unfortunately, a lot of times people need to have that scare or hit that rock bottom before they get their wake up call that they need to change. And it's unfortunate that it has to happen like this, but it usually does. Like, we all intellectually know, hey, I should exercise. I should eat right. I shouldn't smoke. I shouldn't drink. I shouldn't do drugs. I shouldn't do all this, all the quote unquote bad stuff. Like, everybody knows this. Like, this isn't rocket science. Everybody knows it, but so many people do it anyway. And in the back of their mind, I guess they just, the side effects, the problems is going to happen to somebody else. It's not going to happen to me. But when you do have that scare, when something does happen, very often that rocks the boat and kind of like shakes you, wake the F up, buddy. Like, you're not invincible, right? You need to take care of yourself. And again, kudos to him for taking action. And, obviously, this is going to be a big lifestyle change. But there's a few things that I want to address there. Is it's not going to be a massive change, right? Like quitting smoking or not smoking is not healthy. And like smoking is unhealthy, but simply being a non-smoker, that's kind of neutral. That doesn't improve your health. That's just minimizing or not causing any further damage. And this is something we have to wrap our heads around. Like people think, oh, if you don't drink and you don't smoke, then you're healthy. You could still be very unhealthy if you're a non-smoker and a non-drinker, right? Like those are obviously negative things that can impact your health, but not doing them doesn't automatically improve your health. It just brings you up to baseline. Okay, you're not causing further damage. And to kind of give you an analogy to make this make sense, imagine if you have, I'm going to use this analogy now. Let's just say you have a car that's been stored outside in the hot sun, especially for people who live in warm southern climates where you get a lot of sunshine. If you have an old car that's always out in the sun just beating down on the paint of that car, it probably caused the paint to fade, and probably caused the tires to dry, rot, and crack. Over time, the sun can do a lot of damage, right? It just causes the paint to fade and you'll see the damage to that car. If we took that car and then moved it indoors, we stored it in the shade, right? So it's stored in a covered garage, and now it's not being exposed to the sun. That doesn't undo the damage that the sun had caused from years. The years of sun abuse on that paint job is not going to magically disappear because now it's being stored in the shade all of a sudden. It's just not getting any further damage, right? The same applies when it comes to quitting smoking, right? You're not causing further damage, but the fact that you're just not smoking anymore, it's not necessarily a good thing, right? It's a neutral thing, right? So you need to really follow that up with better nutrition, better lifestyle habits, and really focusing on taking your health and fitness to the next level if you want to see some improvements. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, sometimes the damage is pretty far gone, if you've been doing it for years. But improvement is always possible, right? I want to emphasize that. I'm not trying to be the bearer of bad news here and say, oh, well, screw it, it's not worth it. The damage is done. Give up now. I'm not trying to be that bearer of bad news. I'm trying to be the bearer of reality, because a lot of times people think that they're doing themselves some massive good because they are not doing this negative habit. And yeah, it is good, but it doesn't automatically make you healthy, right? That's what I want to get to the point is it's not making you healthy. You need to go over and beyond that if you want to really improve your health, right? So it's going to take better eating habits, better exercise habits, better lifestyle habits, stress management, like all these other things have to come in play as well, not just simply cutting out the bad stuff, right? Cutting out the bad stuff is good, but you need to fill that void with more healthier habits as well. So there's a lot that needs to go on here. And obviously exercising is a big one, but the nutrition, the lifestyle, everything, the sleep habits, it really comes down to a full picture perspective that you need to focus on. And this is all stuff that we're going to be doing a deep dive in within the 5-day Lose Your Gut Challenge program. So if you want to really kind of get an immersion into a sustainable health and fitness routine, by all means, sign up for that Lose Your Gut Challenge and feel free to share it with friends and family members who you think could benefit from it as well. But, I just wanted to acknowledge that. I mean, it's great that Andrew's father has taken these steps in the right direction, but you have to realize that, this is just the beginning. There's a lot more to it that needs to be done from here on in. All right, let's move on. Let's see what else we got there. Other questions and comments and such. We have Robert is joining us. Welcome, Robert. Robert's a regular. We have the Dead Fish Lord. That's Nick. All right. That's actually one of my coaching students, and I had no idea for the longest time. Finally, because I've always acknowledged, Nick. I'm going to call him Nick and not the Dead Fish Lord. And he always says, he finally reached out to me. We were having a coaching call, and he said, "Oh, by the way," he said, "I'm Dead Fish Lord on YouTube." I said, "Oh, there." I was wondering who the heck this guy is. And he said, long story short, he said the username was like an old joke back in the day, and when he set up his YouTube account originally, and he never did change it. So anyway, welcome, Nick. Glad to have you joining in. Steve's joined us, and he's got a question. He says, I've heard it said to avoid heavy side bends that build the obliques, as developed obliques make the waist thick. What's your opinion on this? I mean, how thick can the obliques really get? I totally hear you where you're coming from with that. People say to avoid heavy side bends because it's going to make the obliques and the waist thick. I think most of that is genetics. I really do. If somebody has a thick waist, first, if they're overweight, meaning they've got excess body fat, then that's what's making their waist thick. But some people just naturally have a blockier, thicker waistline than others. And you will hear some people say, well, you want to avoid training your core, avoid training your obliques or whatever. And I've even heard some guys go as far as say, no, avoid training your abdominals because you don't want to make your abdominals bigger and make your waist thicker. And personally, I think that's a crock of BS. I mean, maybe if somebody is a professional bodybuilder and they're looking for every slight marginal gain edge that they can get to maximize their physical proportions from a bodybuilding point of view, because they're a professional bodybuilder, that's how they make their living. And if they can make their waist a little tiny bit smaller and then, make their V taper bigger and better, then that could help improve their placing in competition. Maybe, and that's a stretched maybe at that. But I think for most people, the amount of muscle you're going to get from training your core muscles, your abdominals, your obliques, your lower back, all that, the amount of girth that's going to add to your midsection is minuscule. Most of us can, but by losing the body fat, you're going to have a net reduction versus the bit of muscle that you gain from training the obliques and the core and all that. So, I mean, I don't do a lot of direct heavy side bend exercise, but I will do farmer's walks and what's also known as a suitcase walk, which is basically a single arm farmer's walk. So, and I find like that's really good exercise for building that balance and stability throughout your whole body and throughout your core. And that does directly work the obliques and the sides, similar to what a side bend does. So, I mean, I do not avoid training those muscles like some people say, because quite honestly, I think that the benefit of having a strong core all around, strong abs, strong obliques, strong lower back, that whole, a muscular belt around your core is going to help to stabilize and add so much more support versus trying to avoid training those muscles and keeping your little wasp thin waist. Again, most people's waistline is a genetic thing or a body fat thing. It's very rare for someone to have a thick, heavily muscled physique where you just got so much muscle there. And even if you did, it doesn't necessarily look bad, right? Like if you look at some of the old time bodybuilders and that, and some strongman competitors, I mean, who are lean, I mean, they're probably thick right through, but if they're lean and muscular and they're in good shape, it actually looks good. So even from an aesthetic point of view, it's the only time that would have any impact at all is when you're looking at like the elite of the elite in pro bodybuilding or pro physique competition, where it may have a marginal effect. But unless you're at that level, I wouldn't even worry about it. I'd focus on, training all those muscles for the overall, health and the strength and the injury prevention. Because I mean, when you have a strong core, that'll help prevent back issues, injuries. It goes a long way. So I think the benefits far outweigh the potential risk of adding extra girth to your midsection. All right, let's see what else we got there. JP is saying, this morning I finished week 6 of the old school 12-week program. Good for you. Awesome. That was, for those of you who are wondering what that is, if you probably do a Google search for Lee Hayward's 12-week program, I'm sure it'll pop up. It was a workout program that I put together back in the early 2000s, so it's well over 20 years ago now. But it kind of went viral back in the days before social media, back when we had forums. Like there was the bodybuilding.com forum and a bunch of other bodybuilding forums. Like bodybuilding.com was the big one. And I remember several people shared it and it kind of went viral through there back in the early 2000s. So, a lot of people were exposed to that program, literally thousands of people, but it's still kicking around. That's pretty cool. All right. Much respect. Thanks for sharing that. All right. What else we got there? Lee's joining in saying, do you have a date for the Lose Your Gut Challenge? I'm away on holiday later in the month, so just checking the start date. I mentioned that before we started the video chat, but yeah, it's next weekend. So Saturday, January 13th. That's when the Lose Your Gut Challenge is going down, and it's going to run that following week. So from Saturday, let me break down how the Lose Your Gut Challenge works. So Saturday is like the official welcome to the group, and it's kind of lay the foundation. Sunday is kind of like Sunday is when the actual challenge takes place, day one of the challenge, if you will. And then for the next 5 days, we have structured teaching lessons every day. So every day we focus on one particular topic, and we'll do a deep dive into that. And then each day we build, stacking on top of the previous day. And then on Thursday, that's when we'll have, a webinar, a graduation workshop is what I call it. It's a webinar workshop where we take all the concepts and things that we covered over the course of the 5 days and put it all together into a step-by-step action plan for you. So it's the welcoming of the group starts on Saturday, January 13th, but the official challenge kicks off from Sunday, 5 days right up until Thursday there. So that's the official dates for the Lose Your Gut Challenge. All right. Sean is joining us. He says, do you think a narrow parallel grip pull down hits the lats better than an overhand grip? And what's your favorite upper back exercise for mass? I don't know if it's necessarily better. I mean, some people may find it better, but I like to mix up my pull down and my rowing grips. So a lot of times I will, if I had to pick one, I would say the one that I probably feel the best overall with a row or with a pull down or whatever is probably a parallel grip, like you mentioned. Now, not necessarily the narrow. Like I know some people use the V-bar. I actually like to use a shoulder width parallel grip for a lot of exercises. I find like with a pull down, with a rowing machine or a row variation, I find like that's a really comfortable grip, and I find that it works the overall back nicely. So I will use that a lot, but I'll change it up. Like sometimes I'll do an underhand grip, like the curl grip. Sometimes I'll do the overhand grip. The only one that I really don't do with pull downs is the extreme wide. Like, how the pull down bar goes out and then angles down on the sides. I usually don't grab those angled outs where it comes down on the sides, because I find that that's too wide. Like my arms are like a big V, and I find that that's not applicable. Like it's not comfortable, and I find that I'm not getting a good contraction in the lats. So I tend to go medium to narrow grip in that range. And I find that that's where the back gets the best activation. You're actually working the lats, right? So that's where I usually use for pull downs, for rows, all those, in that medium to narrow grip position, and I'll vary it up, right? So overhand, underhand, parallel, and to vary the grips as well. And it's not necessarily right, wrong, good or bad. It's just each one, you'll do it and you'll feel different aspects of your back working. Right. So I like the challenge and to change it up. Right. So I might do one grip for a few weeks, switch it up, do another grip for a few weeks, switch it up, just to make sure that I'm hitting the muscles from different angles. And that's the way I usually go about it. But the only one that I would caution against and probably recommend against is the extremely wide grip pull downs and extremely wide grip rows. I really don't think that's a major benefit to that, and I find it places a lot of stress on the joints and tendons and ligaments when you're in that very wide grip. Right, so I usually try to do the narrower grips, narrower to medium, as I mentioned. We have Thomas joining in. Sorry, there's one more question there. I've just forgotten. Favorite upper back exercise for mass? Probably some sort of shrug variation would probably be the favorite for pure mass, because you can handle a lot of weight and it really hits the whole upper back. That's probably one of my favorites. Shrugs, even partial deadlifts, in the power rack where you're doing that heavy top end partial, you can really overload and get a lot of stimulation across your upper back. But anything where you can handle a lot of weight, that would probably be the best for upper back mass. So heavy shrugs, heavy partial deadlifts, even farmer's walks. That's a good one too, especially for getting time under tension. Right, it's a good one for stimulating hypertrophy in that whole upper back area. Okay, Thomas is joining in. Welcome, Thomas. Glad to have you joining. We have Robert is joining in. He says, have you ever gotten bored of a workout, yet you see results? That's an interesting concept, because generally, if you're making progress, you're not going to be bored, because the progress is going to fuel your enthusiasm. But I can kind of relate to where you're coming from, because sometimes boredom corresponds with progress, because if things start to go stale, your motivation's probably going to start to dwindle. It's like, I'm doing the same thing over and over again, not really seeing much change. It kind of leads to a bit of boredom. But if you're getting stronger, if you're getting better, you're seeing progress in whatever it is that you're training for. Like, let's just say you're doing obviously if you're doing a mass building program and you're getting bigger and stronger, that's going to fuel your motivation. Even if the workout is pretty simple or boring, the fact that you're seeing results is going to keep the motivation high. If you're doing a fat loss program and you're getting leaner and you're seeing more muscle definition and you're seeing progress happening on a week-to-week basis, even if the program is kind of a bit mundane or sucks or whatever, the fact that you're making progress usually helps to keep the motivation high. But when you start to not see a lot of progress and it feels like I'm doing the same old, it's getting boring, that's kind of like the start of a plateau usually. And sometimes I will change up a workout just for the variety aspect of it, just to keep it fun and interesting. And this kind of goes back to the question I had there with Sean there earlier about the different grips. Sometimes changing up the different grips is a way to add some variety to my workouts to keep it fun and interesting. Very often with my training, I will do a similar structure, similar split, similar movement patterns, but I'll change up the exercise variations. And thankfully, the gym that I train at, Omega Health and Fitness, it's a great gym because they've got a lot of different pieces of equipment, a lot of different varieties. So, like, for example, we've got we probably got 5 different leg press variations. And I could be wrong. No, probably even more than that, because we've got like the 45-degree leg press. We've got a Nautilus plate-loaded leg press. We've got some weight stack leg presses. There's another hybrid hack squat leg press variation combo. There's a vertical leg press. Like, there's I'd say a half a dozen. And then we have some different hack squat variations there, which I'm going to classify as different from the leg press. But bottom line, like, there's so many different variations of exercises. Same with chest presses. Like, we got several different chest press machines, several different back row machines, several different T-bar row machines. Like, there's 3 different T-bar rows that they have, in addition to landmine attachments where you can do T-bar rows as well. So bottom line, like, there's so many different exercise variations of similar movement patterns. So, like, for example, like, I could be doing one leg press variation and then say, I want to try another one. And it's going to hit the muscles from a different position. You're in a different setup, different machine. It's going to feel different, provide unique muscle stimulation. Boom, right? You just changed up the workout and created more variety, more enthusiasm, and just helped to renew that vigor for training, where you're not doing the same old over and over again. Which, that's one of the drawbacks to training in a home gym, right? You can get bored relatively quickly, assuming you're consistent with the workouts. Like, that's one of the problems with home gym workouts, is people are generally not consistent with it, right? Most home gym equipment quickly becomes clothes hangers or dust collectors, once the novelty wears off. But when you're at a well-equipped commercial gym, they have such a wide variety of equipment that you can get a lot of different, muscle stimulation, a lot of different exercise variety within your workouts to prevent that boredom from sinking in. And I find that if the enthusiasm stays high and the progress stays high, then you're more likely to be consistent and more likely to just keep that upward spiral going, right? You're more consistent with the workouts, you're enjoying the workouts, you're making better progress from the workouts, and it's just an upward spiral. Whereas when boredom sets in and results kind of start to stagnate, then it becomes that negative spiral where, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So we want to do whatever we can to keep that spiral moving forward. But, that's a solid question, right? And that's something everybody's going to have to deal with at some point or another, right? Boredom is going to set in. And another one that I've done as well from time to time is just change gyms, right? Like that's another one that I've done, whether it was intentionally or just due to necessity. I've sometimes had to change gyms. And I found that every time I go to a new gym, new environment, new atmosphere, new equipment, very often I make new gains because it just creates that whole level of enthusiasm and a new level of muscle stimulation from the new equipment, the new environment. So that's another thing you can do. If you're getting bored of your current routine, and you really want to change it up, try training at a new gym, especially if you have access to different gyms in your local area. Try a different facility, and it might help to spur on some new workout stimulation and new enthusiasm for your training again. All right, let's see. AJ is joining in. Welcome, AJ. What would you rank as the best accessory exercises in general? And what accessory exercises are best for quads, hamstrings, rear delts, side delts, chest? All right. The term accessory exercises, this is something that you hear thrown around more in the powerlifting community than the bodybuilding community, because in bodybuilding we usually refer to it as compound movements and isolation movements. In powerlifting, they usually refer to it as your key lifts, your squat, your bench, your deadlift. And then the accessory exercises are exercises to help support the squat, the bench, and the deadlift, right? So that's usually where I hear the term accessory exercises thrown around the most. So people will say, okay, well, what accessory exercises are going to help to improve my squat? What accessory exercises are going to help to improve my bench or my deadlift or whatever? But in the bodybuilding world, if you're using the term accessory exercises, most people will probably refer to that as accessory / isolation, right? It's not your main compound primary exercise. So just to kind of break it down, like some primary exercises, obviously squat, bench, deadlift, the 3 power lifts. And then you can do other variations of those: front squats, hack squats, incline press, dumbbell press, different deadlift variations, power rack deadlifts, the hex bar deadlifts, Romanian deadlifts, sumo deadlifts, all these different deadlift variations. But there's still variations of the core exercises. And then when we're getting into some of the isolation stuff, that's where it could be, specific moves for biceps and triceps, or specific moves like leg extensions for the quadriceps, or leg curls for the hamstrings, or different types of rowing movements or pullovers for the back and the lats, different types of fly exercises for the chest, that type of stuff. But as far as the best accessory exercises for quads and hamstrings, I'd say the best one for quads, personally, I love leg extensions. I get a great workout. I feel the quads are on fire. I get a lot of muscle activation when I do leg extensions. All right, I know some people are not fans of the leg extension, Jeff Cavalier, but there's a lot of other people who are. And most bodybuilders use leg extensions as a primary leg exercise, and they have the best quads. So, I'm not against leg extensions. I think they're phenomenal. I use them. I love them. Another good one, lunges and step ups are good as well. The only thing you got to be careful there is some people find it hard on the knees. All right. So, use your own discretion with that, or at least lighten the weight if you have to. Just do body weight and higher repetitions, higher volume for those exercises. For the hamstrings, again, leg curls are phenomenal. I love them. I usually do the lying leg curl variations Romanian deadlifts is another good leg curl variation, or that hamstring exercise. I meant to say accessory exercise. Um, what is another one? The hyperextension. Hyperextensions are excellent for hitting the glutes and the hamstrings. I really like those. Another one that's a good accessory exercise that a lot of people don't do, but I think is an important one, is the inner and outer thigh machines, right? Like a lot of guys consider inner and outer thigh machines a woman's exercise, but they are great exercises because they help to strengthen your hips. They help to strengthen, the inner thighs. And when you have strong hips, that creates a lot more stability, and it'll carry over into other exercises. Like if you have strong hips, you're going to be stronger with squatting. You're going to be stronger with deadlifting. As an athlete, you're going to be stronger with your athletic performance, whether that's running or moving laterally side to side or jumping. So I'm a big fan of including inner and outer thigh, like the abductor and adductor machines. I include those as a regular part of my workouts, and I find that does make a significant difference. And then even as people are aging, we very often have weak hips. Right? Like I know, especially for women, hip fractures are huge, right? Like as people get older. My mother just recently broke her hip, right? So she's in the process of rehabbing from a broken hip. So if you can strengthen the hips and the muscles, provide that weight-bearing exercise for the hips, that will certainly increase bone density and strength and prevent the risk of injuries moving forward. Even for a lot of guys, like as they get older, the hips, are very often neglected. The muscles atrophy, and they have weak hips. Like one of my personal coaching students that I've been training in the gym, he's 76 years old, and God love him. Started, worked out on and off, and had a physically active job when he was a younger man and working, but recently joined the gym at 76. So for those of you who are thinking, I'm too old to work out, I'm too old to start again, whatever, if you're under 76, you're not too old. So anyway, guy started training at the gym, 76 years old. And one of the main reasons he wanted to join the gym is because his hips were causing him a lot of pain, and he couldn't walk. Like he could walk for like a few minutes, and the hip pain would be so unbearable that he'd have to stop. So he's like, I want to be able to keep my mobility, in my 70s and 80s and beyond. So we started working together, and that's one of the exercises that we had him doing was the inner and outer thigh machines, as well as different leg exercises like leg presses, leg curls, leg extensions, all that kind of stuff, and to build up his mobility into his hips. And even now, like he's only been like maybe 6 weeks into it, but he's seeing improvements. Like even at 76, within 6 weeks of regular exercise, like he's already seeing improvements where he can now walk up and down the stairs pain-free. Like he can go for a walk, around the block, or go to the mall and go, Christmas shopping and all that kind of stuff pain-free, right? Like he can move comfortably pain-free because we've helped to strengthen some of those imbalances that he had within his hips. So, looking at it from a practical point of view, as well as an athletic performance point of view, it's so important to have, all these different exercises in there. What other ones? The rear delts. One of my favorites for the rear delts is a reverse flies. Like this could be like a reverse fly band pull apart, where you grab a fitness band, just literally hold the bands with your hands and do a reverse fly pull apart, band pull apart. That's awesome for the rear delts. I also like using the reverse pec deck. If your pec deck machine allows you to have the handles facing so that you're facing the weight stack and you're doing a reverse pec deck, that's excellent for the rear delts. You can also do rear delt flies with dumbbells as well. The only thing with dumbbells is it's not a consistent strength curve, whereas the pec deck is. You get strength, you get resistance right from the start all the way to the top. So I like that. For side delts, like side lateral raises, rubber bands work great there as well. Cables work great, but any type of side lateral raise variation is excellent for hitting the side delts. Even the side lateral raise machine, if you have that available at your gym, we've got a couple of them at our gym, and I really like them. And for the chest, flies would be the best accessory exercise. Obviously, the big compound exercises are going to be your presses. Your bench presses, whether that's barbell, dumbbell, incline, flat, decline, like any type of pressing exercise is going to be the meat and potatoes, the core. But then the accessory work is going to be the flies. So dumbbell flies, pec deck flies, and incline, flat, decline. Like you can change the the angles to hit different positions, cable crossover flies as well. Right. I mean, there's oodles of different accessory exercises, and that's one of the benefits again of training at a well-equipped gym is you'll have all these different machine variations available. All right. So again, hopefully that clears up that question. And if you have any further questions or feedback or comments you want to share, post it into our chat window there. All right, we got TS joining in saying full of DOMs. First day back, why does full body easier to recover and go harder in the gym, one exercise per body part? So he's feeling delayed onset muscle soreness, DOMS. That's what that is. This is his first day back. I don't know how long of a layoff you've had, but obviously the first day back after some period of time off, that's very normal. Whenever you have a break from the gym, and even if it's a short break, like even if it's only a week or two, and then you get back to working out again, very often you will experience muscle soreness because it's amazing how fast your body can decondition when you're not active. Right? Literally, if you take a week or two off from the gym, you will see a decline in your strength, your fitness, your athletic performance. It just drops off. But the good news is it can bounce back very quickly as well once you start resuming training and being consistent again. That's why I'm always a huge advocate of being good enough and good enough consistently to prevent the backsliding. Like, even if you can maintain, that's a victory, because guess what the option is? If you're not maintaining and you're not doing anything, you're falling backwards. Like, a lot of people think doing nothing is maintaining. No, doing nothing is falling backwards. You're going downhill if you're doing nothing. You need to do a certain level of activity just to maintain, just to keep you where you are, to prevent, losing muscle, losing strength. Right. So even if you're maintaining, like, that's a victory. So that's why I'm a huge advocate of this consistency versus intensity. But anyway, get back to your question there. Why is full body easier to recover and go harder in the gym? It depends. I mean, full body can be very demanding depending on how much you're doing. But if you're simply doing one exercise, and assuming you're doing like a few sets of each exercise, you're not really creating a lot of stress on any one muscle group. So it's like a little bit of stimulation and then let it rest, recover, and grow. And this is how I usually coach a lot of my personal coaching students, especially people who are new to working out. This is a great approach because it helps to minimize that soreness versus the old school, like, bodybuilding bro split approach where, okay, it's chest day and we're going to go in there and annihilate chest. We're going to do 4 or 5 different chest exercises for 3 or 4 sets each, rack up 20 plus sets for chest. And it's overkill, especially for someone who's just coming back to the gym after a layoff or doesn't have that fitness experience. It's just overkill. And what happens is you've stimulated and then you've annihilated. You've went overboard. And now the muscles are just way painfully sore, and it's going to take a lot longer for them to recover. Where you just need to do enough to get the job done. And very often for beginners and even a lot of intermediates, a full body workout with just one exercise per muscle group is enough to stimulate it, get the job done, and then all you got to do is let it rest, recover, and grow, and then go back and do it again. And I mean, even quote unquote advanced lifters can still follow this approach. Like, I've been doing total body workouts primarily for the last 6 years. Right? Because I enjoy it. It fits my schedule, right? It's something that I can do, and I can do consistently, and I enjoy it because I don't get that painful muscle soreness, and I don't get the repetitive movement injuries that I would often get if I went in and just hammered chest one day and then back the next day and then legs the next day and arms the next day and shoulders or whatever. I like to do a little bit for a lot in a given workout and just kind of like stimulate the muscles, then let them rest, recover, and grow without overkilling any one particular body part. And I enjoy that approach much better. And I find that it's easier on the body and allows me to train and make progress without feeling aches and pains and joint stiffness and all that kind of stuff. All right. Again, if you want to see an example of this, just head on over to the main Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. And I've got several videos. In fact, the first one, the featured video right there now on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. Takes you through a sample full body workout that you can follow using this type of approach. And this is very similar to what I do personally, and very similar to what I have a lot of my coaching students that I'm working with one-on-one in the gym, having them doing as well. All right, who else we got joining? We have Michael is joining us. Says, I want to say thank you. About 10 years ago, I followed one of your bodybuilding workout plans that got me started into the weightlifting lifestyle. I made some good gains, so thanks to you. Awesome. I appreciate you for sharing that, Michael. I love hearing stories like that. It really helps to brighten my day. And again, kudos to you, man. That's awesome, right? 10 years ago, right? I mean, like, I know for some people, like 10 years seems like the blink of an eye. And when I look back, to me, 10 years seems like the blink of an eye. But you can make a lot of progress in 10 years. And that's the way you got to look at this. Like, a lot of times people, they want the quick fix, right? I want to get in shape in the next 30 days or next 12 weeks or, whatever. But you got to look at this. Like, this is not a sprint to the finish. Like, this is a marathon. This is a journey. This is something that you got to commit to long term, right? And it's not just like, where do I want to be this month, next month, 90 days from now. It's like, where do I want to be a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, or as in Michael's case, 10 years from now, and even longer, 15, 20 years from now? Like, where do you want to be long term, right? And when you start having that bigger vision, it really changes your perspective on things, right? Instead of this little short-term suffer it out and approach, right? Like, oh, I want to lose 30 pounds in 30 days. And I'm going to starve myself and go on some crazy diet. And I'm going to work out like a madman. I'm going to work out 3 hours a day, and I'm going to eat 500 calories a day and hopefully lose 30 pounds in the next 30 days. Like, if you somehow suffer it out and do that, yeah, you could probably lose that much weight. But is that sustainable? Is that something you could see yourself doing, a year from now, 3 years from now, 5, 10 years from now, like for the rest of your life? Of course not, right? You have to find what you can actually do and sustain long term, right? That's the secret to this, is figuring that balance of sustainability, not just suffering it out in the short term. All right, let's move on. What else we got there? We have Thomas is joining in. It says, if you were going to have one piece of cardio equipment, would you pick a stepper, a rower, an elliptical, a bicycle, a treadmill? Even better question, what piece would give me the best results doing 15 minutes 2 times a day? This is a personal preference question. I mean, for me, it would be a bicycle because I love cycling. Right? I enjoy it. It's just, to me, I would bicycle even if it wasn't good exercise because I just enjoy it. Right? Like, I know some people, they love motorcycles, right? And they go out with their buddies and they go, riding motorcycles on the weekend and stuff because it's fun. They get out and they have adventures and, the camaraderie and everything else, the social aspect, the adventure, and just, cruising down the road, the wind in your hair, riding a bike. Like, it's fun. I do the same thing, except I do it on a bicycle and I'm the motor. All right. So I would do it even if it wasn't good exercise because I just enjoy it so much. Then to me, it's not just a form of exercise, but it's just a form of adventure. It's a form of fun. It's great for socializing and camaraderie because I ride with a group a lot of times and, made some good friends through that. So for me, it would be a bicycle hands down, but that's just my personal preference. For someone else, it might be a treadmill. It might be a rower or whatever. Like, heck, if you're part of a rowing team and you have the camaraderie, like you get together with people and you row on a regular basis and you want to keep your stamina up for rowing, maybe a rower is your option. Like, it's not one is right, wrong, good, bad, or anything like that. It's what do you enjoy? I mean, the best answer there would be all of the above, right? So that you could mix and match and have the different ones. But if you're only going to pick one, and that's the question you asked, for me, it would be a bicycle just because I love it. It's so much fun and I just enjoy it. And I would do it even if it wasn't good exercise. The exercise is a bonus, right? But for someone else, it could be, it really depends. I'll give you another example. Before I got serious into cycling, one of the cardio machines that I had, and I did a lot of it for bodybuilding competition prep, was an elliptical. Elliptical with the moving handles. I had an elliptical machine. I literally had it for about 20 years before it broke. And I was using it. This was a few years back now. I remember this. I was using the elliptical machine, and I had it set up down in my basement in the rec room in front of the television. So like a lot of times if I wanted to watch a show or a movie or something like that, I would do it while doing cardio. And when I was competing in bodybuilding, like that's how I got my cardio in a lot of times, especially if the weather wasn't suitable to get outside. I was watching movies and shows on television while using the elliptical machine. So that thing got a lot of use. Like I did, 15 bodybuilding shows with that elliptical machine, right? So it got a lot of use. And I was using it when the last cardio workout I had on that elliptical, the axle in the middle literally cracked off. And I mean, this is a solid steel axle, right? I mean, I was just using the machine, all of a sudden, clunk. I'm like, oh, what the hell happened? Like the thing literally just cracked off, and the leg and the arm just fell to the side there, right? I mean, I didn't get hurt, thankfully, but it jolted me and frightened the shit out of me. And then I, got down and started looking, and I guess it was just thousands or millions of revolutions. It just finally, that steel axle just literally snapped, right? It was just cracked right off after 20 years of use, right? So I just took it and threw it to the dump after that because it wasn't fit to fix afterwards. But I mean, I got a lot of use out of an elliptical, right? So if you're just doing cardio for the cardiovascular benefits and the convenience aspect and everything else, an elliptical would be good because it's working the legs, it's working the upper body, it's low impact, so it's not going to be hard on the joints. Because that's one of the drawbacks with a treadmill, especially if you're going to be doing any running on it. Running is a high impact activity and can create a lot of jarring on the knees and ankles and hips and all that. And unless you are built to run and you are a lighter body weight, it can add up, right? So people who are a heavier body weight, and when I consider heavier body weight, if you're around 200 pounds or more, you're heavy. Most guys who are really good runners, they're well under 200 pounds, right? They're in the 150 pound range, or less. That's where the good runners are. People who are pushing 200 pounds or over 200 pounds, running is not the ideal exercise. I'm not saying you can't do it, but if you do, you're going to feel the aches and the pains, right? The joints, tendons, and ligaments, you're going to feel it. Whereas a lower impact cardio, you can probably do it more consistently. You can probably do it longer and more frequently and everything else. Like cycling, the volume of cardio that I get on the bicycle, there's no way I'd be able to even get half that if I was doing it by trying to run. The impact and the stress on my joints, tendons, and ligaments would prevent me. Whereas the zero impact that I get from the bicycle, it allows me to do a lot more cardio and ultimately get more benefits in terms of fat burning, stamina, cardiovascular, VO2 max, heart health. I can do it frequently and I can do it longer and I can do it harder with less risk of injury. So I would choose a low impact one. All right. That's what I would choose. The rower is another great cardio option, but the downside of a rower is it's very intense. That's high intensity cardio. Like that's borderline cardio / strength training. Like you can look at it as cardio / muscular endurance work because, while most people can you ride a bike for an hour or more, you can probably go for a walk for an hour or more, elliptical hour or more. Very few people can row for an hour or more. Like it's going to fatigue the muscles to a much greater extent. And if you're looking for a workout that you can get in a short period of time, the rower would probably be a good option from that point of view. But personally, I like something that I can sustain for longer periods because I'm getting my strength training in the gym lifting weights, right? I don't want to try and duplicate strength training with cardio. So again, elliptical or bicycle, those are my choices if you're asking. And I know I added a lot of wind to that answer there, but hopefully you got some benefit from it. I'd rather over-explain than not explain enough. All right, where else was I? I lost my spot there. Shit, where was I? Okay, there we are. Thomas's question. We got Michael. Happy New Year's, Lee, to you and your family. May 2024 continue blessing you and the family with good health as well as peace, love, and happiness. God bless, and thank you for your continuing inspiring me. The grind never stops. Hope others take advantage of your services. Appreciate that, Michael, and thanks for sharing that. I wish you all the best in the new year. TS is saying, when I do heavy few reps for failure squats, I feel mad happy. Is that normal? Yeah, I guess. I mean, if you did a heavy set of squats, while it doesn't feel good doing it, after it's done, you get a sense of accomplishment. So yeah, I can appreciate that. I mean, I feel that after every workout. I mean, sometimes it may not always feel good doing it, but it feels a lot better when it's done, and you got that sense of accomplishment. You've done something productive. So yeah, I can appreciate that. I mean, that's the endorphins and those feel good chemicals that get released when you push yourself and and you succeed with completing that. Absolutely, that is normal. That's what we want. We want to feel good when we exercise, right? And it's weird because like a lot of people who are struggling with exercise, they associate the pain and the discomfort. No, I don't like that. I just want to sit back and relax. Well, sitting back and relaxing feels good in the moment, but you didn't accomplish anything. Like there's no sense of pride or satisfaction. Like if I sit my ass on the sofa and eat a bag of chips and watch TV, like what sense of pride or satisfaction do I get from that? Like, okay, it feels good in the moment because I'm relaxing, there's no stress and everything else. But afterwards, I'm like, I feel like a lazy sack of poop, right? Like it leads to depression. It makes you feel bad about yourself because you're like, I'm doing nothing, I'm feeling lazy, and like, bleh. Whereas if you go out and you exercise, it doesn't always feel good in the moment, and you're exerting yourself, but you can kind of rewire your brain to say, this is making me stronger, this is making me better, this is actually improving my health and fitness, and I'm getting something beneficial from this. And then think of how good I'm going to feel afterwards. And then when you relax after the exercise, it's like, I earned that relaxation, right? I earned it, and you feel so much better. So I mean, that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to exercise so much, is because of those feel-good chemicals and that get released in the body, right? It gives you that sense of purpose, that sense of satisfaction, versus just sitting on your ass and doing nothing and just feeling like a fat sack of poop. yeah, that's absolutely normal. Totally. We have Home Gym Fitness joining in. Says, good afternoon. First time here. Welcome. Glad to have you joining. Awesome to have new people joining in the video chat. So what are your thoughts on giant sets for older men? I'm currently doing 4 exercises, 10 to 12 reps. My goal was to do this for the month of January to change up my routine. So a giant set, if I'm getting my terms, let's first off break this down into the ultimate nitty gritty. All these things, giant sets and super sets and whatever, it's just words. It's just variations that people made up to add variety to their workouts. Like the muscles don't know if you're doing a straight set, a giant set, a super set, an alternate set, a whatever, a circuit. They just know stress and recovery. Like that's it. So this is just another way of mixing it up. It's just words and that's all. Like the muscles don't know that you're doing a giant set. They just know, okay, there's stress on me and I'm going to have to recover and adapt to this stress. That's it. But a giant set, for those of you who are wondering what it is, if my terminology is correct, it's 4 exercises done in like a circuit, right? So let's just say you're doing a bench press, you're going to do an incline dumbbell press, then you're going to do a pec deck fly, and then you're going to do a set of push-ups, and then you're going to rest and repeat that circuit, that giant set, if you will. It's a series of exercises. And there's nothing wrong with doing that. I mean, it's a great way to, first of all, get a lot of different muscle variation and exercise stimulation. It's fun. I mean, sometimes I like to do that myself, pair up a few different exercises together, or sometimes work a couple movements back to back. especially if you can do so. Like if I'm training at the gym and it's not that busy and I can hog a few different pieces of equipment, I will sometimes do like a little circuit or a giant set like that versus doing all my sets of bench presses and all my sets of flies and then all my sets of pec deck or whatever. It's doing it all in straight set fashion. You can kind of mix it up and do it in a giant set fashion. And from a time perspective, a lot of times you'll get the exercises done quicker, so it's more efficient, and it's fun and adds a bit of extra variety. But is it better or worse? Not necessarily. Like what ultimately counts is, are you providing enough stimulus for the muscle to grow, and are you training in a progressive overload fashion? Like that's what matters the most, is the fact that you're providing that stimulation in a progressive overload fashion. You're forcing the muscles to do more than they're accustomed to, so they have a reason to grow bigger and stronger, and that you're doing it consistently enough. So you're consistent, you stimulate the muscles, and then you allow it to rest, recover, and grow, and then you do it all over again. So however you break it up, like it's not right, wrong, good or bad or whatever. It's just another variation. And this is why it can get so confusing, because some people have their dogmatic beliefs of like, well, this workout is the best, and this is my workout, and everybody should be doing my workout because my workout's the best. But then you could see someone else who's in amazing shape, has an incredible physique, been training for years, getting great results, and they're doing something totally different, right? Like the classic Mike Mentzer versus Arnold Schwarzenegger debates, right? Mike Mentzer was high intensity, low volume, blah, blah, blah. Arnold, 6 days a week, 4 or 5 hours a day, blah, blah, blah. Chalk and cheese in terms of, their approach. Like Arnold was high volume, high frequency, go, go, go. Mike Mentzer is like work out one set to failure and then take 3 or 4 days of rest in between. Like it can work, right? As long as you're forcing the muscles to do more than they're accustomed to and you allow it to rest, recover, and grow, it can work. So it's not, again, it's not right, wrong, good or bad. Like Arnold was in great shape. Mike was in great shape. Like they both got great results. It's just a different approach, right? It's almost like someone comparing, saying, well, I invest in real estate, and someone else says, well, I invest in the stock market, and then trying to convince the other that I'm right and they're wrong. People have made a fortune in both real estate and the stock market. It both can work, right? Another one that I get a kick out of is the vegans and the carnivores, right? The vegans are convinced if you eat a piece of meat, you're going to die. And the carnivores are convinced if you eat a vegetable, you're going to die. And they're chewing at each other, trying to convince the other that they're right. How about we have the best of both worlds, right? Meat and veggies, right? It's same with the workouts. Like it doesn't have to be one or the other. Like you can combine different styles and reap the benefits of it all. So like I say, sometimes I will do giant sets, and sometimes I'll do straight sets. Sometimes I'll do circuit programs, right? It's just another variation. And as far as the age, the age really doesn't have an impact there. The only thing that age is going to have an impact with is the older your body gets, the more you have to respect it, right? Like you can't get away with the use and abuse that a younger body can. Because when you have youth on your side, you can sometimes get away with sloppy form, pushing yourself too heavy, like youthful joints, tendons, and ligaments are they can handle more use and abuse before something snaps or breaks or gets injured. Whereas the older you get, you can't go in there and abuse your body. It's more likely to get injured. So paying more attention to your warm up, listening to your body, using proper form, being aware of it. So like if something doesn't feel right, don't try and say no pain, no gain and push through it. No, if something doesn't feel right, well, stop whatever the frick you're doing, right? And either change it up or do something else, right? Like don't push through the pain. That's what I recommend for older lifters, the muscle after 40 approach, if you will. And we have to differentiate pain, because I'm not saying that you don't work through pain. Like if it's pain in terms of I'm feeling tired, I'm feeling the muscle burn, and my cardiovascular system, I'm huffing and puffing and I'm working hard. Like that type of pain is the good pain, right? The fatigue, the lactic acid, the muscle burn, the exhaustion you get from exercise, that's good pain. The bad pain that we don't want to work through is that sharp shooting, uncomfortable pain where, oh, geez, there goes my lower back, or there goes, I get that sharp shoot in my rotator cuff, or my elbows are hurting, or my knees are hurting, or something like that. the sharp shooting pain, often in the joints, tendons, and ligaments, you don't work through that, right? If you get that sharp shooting pain, like that's the check engine light flashing saying, hey, don't do this. We need to change something up. So you just have to be more aware of your body and respect it more the older you get, right? But you can still train it hard and then push yourself and train in a progressive overload fashion and strive for new personal records and all that kind of stuff. You just have to, again, be more respectful of it. All right, moving on. What else we got there? We have Frostify. I think that's how I say it. Frostify. All right. I'm 5'10", 122 pounds, recently started hitting the gym. Should I bulk using McDonald's and KFC once or twice a day? Gentle Jesus, no. All right. You would gain weight if you ate junk food, right? Once or twice a day, but it's not good weight, right? Regardless if you're trying to gain muscle or lose fat or whatever, you want to think like the number one goal, nourish your body, nourish it on the cellular level, quality protein, like vitamins and minerals, like fruits and vegetables, like nutrient dense foods, like get your quality protein, get all your vitamins and minerals and fiber, get your essential fatty acids, your omega-3s, like think of nourishing the body on the cellular level, not just piling in a bunch of empty calories. Because one of the problems we have, especially in today's society, is there's so many people who are overfed in terms of calories from processed food, but then still malnourished on the cellular level. So they're overfed to the point where they have excess body fat, but they're still malnourished in terms of you could be over fat and under muscled, or over fat and still have nutritional deficiencies. And that's a bad combination. Now, in this case, 5'10", 122 pounds, like obviously you're underweight and, but do not use that as an excuse to fill up on junk food. If anything, fill up on higher calorie dense, healthy foods. And I'll give you some examples, like, red meat is a great source of protein, great source of vitamins and minerals. But in your case, like, you don't need to get the extra lean. Like, you can have a little bit of fat with the red meat, because fat is extra calories and it's also healthy. I mean, having moderate amounts of fat can actually be healthy. Nuts, any type of nuts, walnuts, almonds, peanut butter, stuff like that. What's another one? Brazil nuts. I love Brazil nuts. That's another one that I have a lot of. Any type of nuts. They're very calorie dense. They're healthy, good healthy fats that your body needs. They'll help to nourish you. And they're also high in vitamins and minerals, right? Nuts are great. And they're very calorie dense to help you get the calories you need to put on muscular body weight. With your carbohydrates, like potatoes and pasta and rice and oatmeal and all these kind of foods, like eat those, right? They're going to help to, provide the energy and the glycogen you need to help fuel your workouts and also give you the extra calories you need. With protein, again, like whole eggs, whole milk, whole dairy products. Like you can still eat healthy food, but just eat higher calorie dense versions of those healthy foods so that you're providing the calories you need. You're also providing the nutrition you need, and you're allowing your body to fuel and fill up on the good quality stuff, not just the empty calorie crap, right? Like, we don't want processed junk food because, you'll gain weight, but you could still have those nutritional deficiencies. And of course, then all the health problems that come along with the processed junk food as well, right? Fill up on the good stuff. Fill up on the good stuff, and you can still gain weight on the good stuff, right? Don't use it as an excuse to just, right, I'm skinny, so I'm going to eat like crap. Right? No, that's a big mistake, because there's another side to this as well. People who genetically don't store a lot of body fat, they can still be very unhealthy. There's a term they use for it. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's non-obese metabolic dysfunction, or I have to look it up again, but I'll explain it in layman's terms because I'm a layman. But if you like, sometimes having excess body fat is actually like a safety mechanism, because if you're consuming all that extra food and you're consuming a calorie surplus, your body has somewhere to put that extra fat versus storing it internally and in the organs and stuff. It can store it in the, as that extra fat under the skin. So it's actually sometimes a safety mechanism. Like you can store excess body fat, extra toxins, and all this kind of stuff gets stored in fat. Now, it doesn't look good aesthetically, but you can have people who are over fat, overweight, but still metabolically healthy. Vice versa, you can have people who are really skinny and metabolically unhealthy. And sometimes if people don't naturally store a lot of fat under the skin, so for whatever reason, you just don't have a lot of fat cells to fill out, and you're just a genetically thin person, sometimes what happens is when you start eating that processed junk food, the fat has to get stored internally because it's not getting stored externally. So it could build up like fat around the liver. You have fatty liver disease, fat around the pancreas, and have, insulin issues and stuff like that. Fat around all the internal organs, and you can have all these metabolic health issues even though you're skinny, right? So like you don't want to purposely be eating junk food that could potentially cause you to gain fat. And even if it's not excess body fat in terms of like, oh, I got a gut, or I got, all this excess fat hanging off me, rolls of belly fat, you could be storing fat internally. And it doesn't take much internal fat to cause metabolic damage, right? Like a little bit of liver fat can cause fatty liver disease, right? Like you could have 50 pounds of extra belly fat and still be metabolically healthy. But if you got like an extra half a pound of liver fat, woo, right now you got non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, right? That could lead down the road to a whole slew of health problems. So don't use the fact that you're skinny as an excuse to, I can eat whatever I want, because you can't, right? This you still have to take care of your health, even if you're underweight. And that's a serious problem for a lot of people, right? Because at least 30% of the incidences of heart attack and diabetes and all these metabolic issues and stuff like that, cardio, a lot of it can happen to people who are not overweight, right? Like because they store the fat internally around their organs, and they still have all the metabolic dysfunction that comes about from that. So you got to look after yourself. You got to take care of your health and fitness, regardless of your weight. Right? And again, this is stuff that we'll be discussing within the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And I should point out too that the whole Lose Your Gut Challenge program, it's not just losing the gut. It's all about optimizing your health and fitness and lifestyle habits so that you can build muscle, lose fat, and enjoy the process, right? Be healthy and fit and achieve your physique in a healthy, sustainable way, right? That's what it's all about. So like some of the guys who go through the Lose Your Gut Challenge, like they've already lost the fat, but they're doing it to help optimize their nutrition and lifestyle habits. So now that they can apply those principles to building lean muscle on their frame, because the process of building muscle and losing fat, there's a lot of parallels, right? You have to have the right training, the right nutrition, the right lifestyle, the right sleep habits. Like all these healthy habits will build muscle and burn fat simultaneously. So it's not just one or the other. Like some people think, well, I'm not overweight, so I don't need to focus on diet. Right? Yes, you do, right? Or I'm overweight, I don't need to, or I'm skinny, so I don't need to exercise, or I'm skinny, so I don't need to. No, you still need to do these things, right? You can still suffer, health issues even if you're not overweight. Right. I mean, this is something we could go on and on and on, but I just want to kind of scratch the surface here. All right. We got a lot of questions coming through here, and scroll through. Oh boy, there's no way I'm going to answer all these today. And this is normal. Every video chat's the same way. We get more questions than there is time to answer them. Let me just cover a few more here before we clue it up. Depends. I will go on a treadmill or elliptical, but lately I've been doing 10K, 15K steps again. I was able to bring my body fat down once again. Depends on the individual. Some people have knee issues. I think he's just sharing comments, but kudos. Thank you, Michael, for sharing that. I'm not ignoring you. I'm just trying to get through some questions here as quickly as I can before we clue it up. What about injury to lower back plus add osteoarthritis in there and injured SI joints? What kind of exercises to help with that with aiding to injury, without adding to injury? I think that's what they're saying. So you got a lower back injury, osteoarthritis, injured SI joints. You know what? This is something that you really would need to work with like a physiotherapist or a good personal trainer in person, because it's hard for me just based on that to diagnose, okay, here's the perfect workout for you, because it's really an individual thing. Um, we would need to actually work together to see, okay, what exercises, like for example, like what back exercises can we do without aggravating your back? Now, just off the top of my head, some that I can think of, chest supported rowing exercises, so you're not placing stress on your lower back. Overhead pulling exercises like a lat pull down, which is not going to place a lot of stress on the lower back. Those are a couple that I can think of right off the bat. Um, you know, with the arthritis, that's really that's an unique thing, because you still want to move and work the muscles and the joints and tendons and ligaments through full range of motion. Like in this situation, movement is medicine, but you need to do it in a small, and like start off small and then gradually build it up and working within your pain threshold. And it's really a unique touch and go thing. Like one of the things I've been doing now over the last few months is I've been going back and doing one-on-one training in the gym. Like I used to do that years ago, but I got away from it and I was doing mostly online training. But recently I started going back and doing some one-on-one coaching. I don't do a lot of it, but I have a few clients that I'm working with now, and it really, and they're older people. Like a lot of them are older and having a lot of these issues that you mentioned. And what I've found is it's really bringing awareness of how like different bodies can respond to different exercises, and how different machines are better suited for different body types. Like I know, like one of my the coaching students that I'm working with, like there's certain exercises or certain machines that they can't do and certain ones that they can do, where other people are the complete opposite, right? So like, and that's one of the cool things about having a well-equipped gym, where you have multiple pieces of equipment for each exercise or for each muscle group. Like for example, like we have several different chest press machines, several different row machines, several different leg press machines, several different pull down machines, etc. And I find like, okay, this person can use this chest press machine, but they can't use that one, right? And the only way to know that is by actually getting into the gym and say, okay, let's try this one and let's try that one. Which one do you prefer? Which one causes less pain and aggravation? Which one feels more comfortable for your body type? And you really need to work it that way. So in your situation, Kathy, I would recommend either seeing a physiotherapist, and if they offer this service, great. If not, go to a gym, your local fitness center, and explain your situation, and hopefully they can pair you up with a trainer who has the experience to work around these issues with you. All right. And I know it can be a bit of a gamble at first, because sometimes with personal trainers, hey, they did their weekend certification course and they've been working out for a couple of years, and now put up my sign, certified personal trainer, doors open, but they have like no real world experience, especially dealing with people with all these issues. So it's good if you can have someone who has the experience, who's more mature, right? Not someone who's a 20-something-year-old who's never had an acre of pain in their life, but someone who's, in their 40s or beyond, who has a bit of life experience and can relate to working around aches and pains and injuries. Someone who can relate to you and your situation and guide you in the right direction. And I think that would be what the best approach, right? I mean, I like I said, I can give you some general guidelines, but it's not really going to be specific to your situation, because you need to actually get into the gym, try these different movement patterns, try these different exercises, and see what can work for you and your body type and your situation. Right? It's going to be different for everyone, right? Anyway, moving on. Let's just see. This is a good question. I'm going to probably clue this one up, because this is a great one that really applies for the new year. A lot of people getting back into the gym, and that says, I haven't worked out for a while due to being ill. And I know a lot of people haven't worked out for a while due to numerous reasons, but new year, this is kind of like the push for whatever reason, the whole New Year's resolution. Everyone say, I want a fresh start. A lot of people are starting to go back to the gym now in the new year. So he says he's starting back, feeling better now, but I'm thinking of going back to a 5x5 on Monday. Can I do isolation exercise on my 5x5 program? If you've been out of the gym for a while, I would not recommend jumping into a 5x5 program. It's too heavy too soon. It can place a lot of stress on the muscles. I'd recommend building up a base, building up a foundation with higher repetitions, more time under tension, not getting into those 5x5. Like 5x5, that's heavy power stuff. And if you haven't been training for a while, you need to build up that base level of conditioning again. Like before you jump into the high intensity, high heavyweight stuff, you need to lay a foundation. So I would recommend doing higher repetitions, at least 10 reps per set. And if you can't get 10 reps with good form by yourself with no help from a spotter, the weight is too heavy, right? Especially when you're coming back to the gym after a layoff, right? Jumping into heavy sets of 5 is way too much for someone who's coming back to the gym after a layoff. So you want to lighten up the loads, do more time under tension, and build that base level of fitness again. And you can certainly incorporate isolation exercises into that as well. In fact, if you want to see a good program that I'd recommend, or something that you can model to get back to training again, just head over to my YouTube channel, the Total Fitness Bodybuilding YouTube channel. And the very first featured video there is a total body workout. And this is a great plan to start back on. Like, do that for at least the first 6 weeks back to the gym, or some variation of it. I mean, you can model it to fit your available exercise equipments and any mobility issues that you're working around and stuff like that. But use that as a general template to train, to kind of lay that foundation. And after you've done that for about 6 weeks, then if you want to move into a more heavy power training program, like a 5x5 program or something like that, feel free to do so based on how your body's responding. But I wouldn't recommend jumping back into that as your first workout back after a layoff. It's just too heavy too soon. And quite honestly, you could be setting yourself up for an injury and then even a further setback, right? The most important thing when it comes to workouts is avoiding injury, right? Like, if you do an easy workout, that's okay. If you skip a workout, in the greater scheme of things, that's okay as well, because you now go train again the next day, right? If you do an easy workout and you don't train heavy, you don't train to failure, who cares? You can always train harder the next day. But if you go in there and you train too much and you end up pulling, straining, getting injured, getting hurt, you're not bouncing back the next day, right? That injury could set you back weeks or months, or in some cases, you may never fully recover, depending on the degree of the injury. So injury prevention is the number one thing. And the best way to do that is by starting back slow, laying a good solid foundation, and then building it up gradually over the course of several weeks, not just jumping into a heavy 5x5, from day one. All right, I'm going to get ready and clue it up, guys. I know there's still several questions coming through there that I didn't get a chance to answer, but if you would like me to help you and address these questions, feel free to reach out to me. Whether if you want to message me through Facebook, you can do that, or you can post them over on the Total Fitness Bodybuilding Facebook group. We'll address them through there. Or if you want, you can email me as well. So contact information is down there below in the description of this video. Feel free to reach out to me. And also want to give you a reminder, Lose Your Gut Challenge happening next weekend, starting this Saturday. So this coming Saturday, meaning Saturday to January 13th, the Lose Your Gut Challenge is happening. If you're looking to start the new year off on the right track, get back into a solid fitness and nutrition routine so that you can lose fat, build muscle, improve your health and fitness, check that out. Again, it's a free 5-day intensive virtual coaching program, and you're welcome to attend it. All the details are posted up on my website at leehayward.com. So check that out, and I will look forward to following along with your progress throughout the Lose Your Gut Challenge. And if you do have any questions or feedback, or you want to reach out to me, feel free to do so. My contact details are down below in the description. All right, have yourself a great weekend, and I will talk to you next week. Take care. Over and out.